And it's so difficult, but I promised you, all you got to do is answer the people. You ain't even got to have an interview with me, Mr. Johnson. All you got to do, you know what? You know what I decided that I'm going to do? Just right here, right this minute. Why do I have to go straight to Mayor Brandon Johnson when I can go to the alderman? It's 50 of them. In sales, what I've learned is something called the law of averages. The law of averages is the same thing that you guys apply to shooting your shots in the DMs. If you shoot to shot to 50 of them, it's a strong possibility that at the very least you're going to land on 5. You might be able to get out 2, and then you go from there and bust down 1. You know what I'm saying? But why? Why even go for the big dog when I can go for his henchman? I'm going to reach out to the alderman. I heard it's 50 of them, right? 50 different aldermen. That sounds so stupid and crazy. How do y'all got 50 people on payroll over in Chicago making money off of y'all? How? But let's talk about taxes, migrants, and then crime happening over in Chicago, and then we're going to go over for the rest of the show. But I need to bring y'all up to date and up to speed on what's going on, because I don't want you to forget. People forget about what it is that they went through, and then they vote the same way. But I want you guys to remember and pay attention, and we need to keep this at the forefront of what's going on until they start to do better. The minute that Chicago starts to have better results, or they pivot, or they start to make changes, we'll stop bringing them to the front of the congregation. But as long as news surfaces every single day about it, then we're going to have a conversation, because this is the most disrespected group of people as far as the residents and the constituents over in this area. And I think that they need some justice done on their behalf, so we're not going to forget about it. You know, the same way that y'all didn't forget about Black Lives Matters, and y'all was standing on that junk and you was protesting until you started getting that man arrested, until you got those police officers thrown under the jail and arrested. That's the same way that we're going to continue to beat this down until we get results with regard to what's happening in these blue cities. Let me give you some insight of what's going on over here in Chicago. Let's start with the money first.
Are your tax dollars being spent responsibly? Well, a Chicagoland representative says, nope, they are not. Representative Martin McLaughlin, whose district includes Cook, Kane, McHenry, and Lake counties, says he has been asked by voters why their tax bills have gone up 15 to 30% this year.
Let's stop there, y'all. Their tax bills, largely a part of, wow, the lowest alderman salary is $115,000. Wow. Y'all paying all 50 of these guys all of this money? $115,000. And guess what? The people of Chicago had already been paying crazy tax bills. I mean, and when I say crazy tax bills, I'm talking about crazy tax bills, especially when it comes to their property taxes. Could you imagine getting a 30% increase in your taxes? I wonder why. Is it possible that you guys can guess why homeowners and taxpayers are getting a 30% increase in how much that they have to pay for their property taxes? Somebody came on this platform and said, Anton, inflation is not based off of what is going on personally in your life, in your county, in your city, and in your state. They tried to argue me down and said, Anton, inflation is only applicable on a federal level. I said, ain't that something? So you're telling me that the rate of inflation on a broad scale, so if the federal government says that the rate of inflation is 9% like it was during the pandemic, then that's just the way it is all across the board. So inflation does not take into consideration what the federal rate is that is then fed into it based off of the value of your dollar, and then whether or not that dollar then stretches long enough or further enough or far enough, however you want to frame it. If that dollar stretches all the way over here based off of being in California, or all the way over there based off of being in Mississippi, or all the way over here based off of being in Chicago. If the cost of doing business and surviving and feeding your family and heating your house and making sure that you got a roof over your head over in Chicago is growing by a property tax rate of 30% more based off of the idea. And we don't know why they raised it. We just know that they need some more money, right? They said that they got budget holes and deficits and they continuing to spend money as far as the migrant crisis. So if you can raise property taxes from 15 to 30% just like that, even if you have your home paid off, you still got to pay these crazy property taxes. You're telling me that inflation does not affect you a little bit differently if you live in Chicago versus living over there in Florida? I beg to differ. I beg to differ. I beg to differ. I beg to differ. People are seeing taxes increase by over 30%. That is stupid. Stupid.
The country is experiencing skyrocketing inflation.
Our government routinely collects your hardworking tax dollars for services that are not yet rendered. I've been hearing about a rainy day fund to keep funds for use in the future.
Reading that super chat shortly. Thank you, David.
This practice is simply uncalled for when we have so much need today. It's highly unethical, and frankly, it amounts to an unbelievable fiscal malpractice.
The representative says he is pushing for a new state office of fiscal responsibility and reform. That group would help the state better budget its money and spend the money of hardworking Illinoisans more efficiently to serve residents of the state. I think they'd have.
You are insane if you think that they are working on your behalf or they have your best interest at heart as far as what they're going to do with your taxpayers. There's so much waste on the government level that they don't even care anymore. Meanwhile, churches are helping migrant families get settled, and they now are starting to get their work visas, and they are able to then replace you in some of the jobs that you have. Let me show you.
There are new numbers out today on Chicago's migrant crisis. Right now, there are more than 12,000 asylum seekers in 25 shelters across the city.
Keyword, recognize our pronouns. They are not illegal immigrants. They are asylum seekers. Recognize our pronouns. They are not illegal immigrants. They are asylum seekers. Okay, it's a difference. Recognize our pronouns. He, they, shim, jim, sherver. Asylum seeker.
And there are more than 3,000 migrants awaiting placement in a shelter.
Since the crisis began, 20,500 migrants have arrived in Chicago. And tonight, we're getting a rare look into the life of one family, settling into their new normal a year later.
CBS 2's Maribel Gonzalez introduces us to them and the pastor who's helped them navigate the process.
Shout out to the pastor.
We're called to do it.
The Grace and Peace Church in Austin is now serving as more than a place of worship.
Here's all the winter gear.
It's transformed into a resource hub for migrants arriving in Chicago.
Since August of last year, we have been in the fire of it all.
In fact, they were one of the first places that offered shelter when Texas sent them to Chicago last year. Over 100 people staying inside the church at a time.
Our goal was always get them out in 60 days. So we did 100 every 60 days.
Pastor,
I wonder what nationality Pastor John Zayas is, but we'll figure that out later.
John Zayas getting them out of here and into their own apartments, connecting them with jobs and basic necessities.
Every little thing counts, right?
When they're coming here for the first time, they have shoes, hats, clothes, coats, all that stuff.
The church.
Wow, that's impressive, huh? That's impressive. We had been trying to figure out all this time, how do they have new Montclair coats, Scullies, new ripped jeans, all of the latest Air Ones and Nikes. I ain't seen no Black Forces. They had new strollers, umbrellas, tents, gloves, coats, everything. And I was thinking to myself, how? Because I was using my context clues and nobody asked the questions. So now it's starting to register and make sense. See, what the pastor is basically showing you, Dang, baby girl looking frumpy in the mug on that particular shot. Anyways, that's not a good shot of her, but we're going to unpause it in a minute. Let me just continue to play this.
Has this 20,000 square foot warehouse filled with donations to give out to those in need here in the Austin community.
20,000 square foot warehouse runneth over more than ever before than before the migrant crisis, which means that the people, because there's always a silent minority or majority that is have a vested interest in seeing this happen, the people are runneth over with the donations to the organizations that ultimately help and enable what's going on in your communities. So, if the people support it, then maybe that explains why there's such a haughty attitude when it comes to not paying attention to what you saying, because they already know what the play is. More donations, more contributions, more money runneth over than ever before to the spaces and the places that ultimately support what is happening and the displacement of you in the United States of America. See, it's not that hard. Even C students can gather their context clues to figure out what's going on out here in these streets. 20,000 square foot, they have to practically turn down donations because they can't handle enough people actually being supportive of what is happening over here in this community.
But with the arrival of more migrants, their inventory has only increased.
Ready to go.
We're at a position right now that our donations have gone high, that we're not even accepting donations.
The box is full of items, front and center. But what you can't...
Can you imagine being a church to where you get so many donations that you're not even accepting anymore? He said that their donations runneth over so much that they're not even accepting donations anymore. That's insane. That's crazy. That's amazing to me. That is amazing to me. So this basically is telling me that it's different out here than we really think it is. What we are observing and what we're complaining about is not necessarily a reflection of what we see happening in our communities. When they become sanctuary cities, it's largely supported by the people. And the people are the ones that vote in the office, the ones that are advocating for this on a national level also. So, if that be the case, do we have it wrong? The pastor said that donations runneth over, so much so that they can't even accept anymore. Contributions, 20,000 square foot warehouse. And so it probably transitions over into a financial donation so that they can make sure that they can continue to exist anyway. So maybe we got it wrong. Maybe this is what the people of Chicago really want. Maybe we should just go ahead and let them breathe. Maybe it's just the black community that's complaining, and that's why it's falling on deaf ears. I don't know.
See at first glance are the people working here. Jose Antonio and Romerci are among the first group of people
reading the super chat
arrived in
shortly.
Chicago last August.
Ya tenemos un año y 2 meses.
It's been over a year since that day, but Jose Antonio still tears up thinking about their journey, running out of food in the jungle, watching people die along the way.
Es dura, muy dura.
A stark difference to their life now. They've got their work permits within a few months and are working at the church doing maintenance and paying rent on their own apartment.
They had their work permits within a few months, and now they are being employed by the church. Wow. Don't even got to learn English in order to be able to do your job. The church speaks Spanish. The church speaks Spanish. listen, got their work permits, making money, doing the job that a lot of y'all don't want to do, and they able to pay their rent on time now. Listen. Did we not predict this? Did we not already anticipate what was going to happen? Work visas, work permits, housing, structure, help, donations, replacements. That's the key word that you want to say over there, replacements. We predicted this. You said what you wasn't going to do. They are feeling very, very comfortable taking care of business. No hablo español. No problemo. It's rocking out.
Even though they have a full-time job, they come and give back because it was done to them.
And they're not the only ones. Pastor Zaya is helping 400 other families do the same.
We've had thousands that have come through and are now established, but we only focus on the ones that are just coming off the bus and they don't see the full picture. So
before we really got wind of it, they had already seen thousands of people and helped thousands of people, and right now they're in flight with helping over 400 people make sure that they get themselves settled over in Chicago.
That's why I think people get upset. They say, well, how long are we going to have these folks here?
To him, that full picture means people settled into a city they're eager to call home.
They really want to be part of the fabric of America.
In Austin, Maribel Gonzalez, CBS 2 News.
Welcome to America. Welcome to America. See what you did to yourself? See how you voted yourself on out of a job? See how you voted yourself out of your own position? See what happened? Yeah. This is how it's going to play out in America. This is how it's been since the beginning of time. We need a new working class. And so this is nothing new.